is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. In this video we're going to be discussing the Saturday slate for the Call of Duty League Draftkings slate. This slate is taking part on the day of the 29th of May, and today we have the games of Paris Legion, Atlanta FaZe. We have a game between the New York SUBLINERS and the LA GUERILLAS, and we have the LA Thieves against the Seattle Surge. So we're going to be discussing the pricings on DraftKings for these three games here on this video, and we're going to be discussing my opinions on the games overall. So if you guys just found this channel, my name is Isaac, and I break down basically betting advice and betting info on websites like DraftKings for esports like Call of Duty, and soon Valorant in the near future. So if you guys like the betting content, if you guys like making money watching esports, leave a like or leave a subscribe, so you can check out the rest of my videos, so I can potentially help you to make money watching the esports and love. So with that being said, let's take a look at the first game of the day. We have the Paris Legion against the Minnesota ROKKR here at the first game of the day. Minnesota ROKKR is favored at a minus 225 favorites, and Paris Legion is sitting at a plus 170 underdogs for this match. Now, based on the match we saw previously for the Paris Legion against the Atlanta FaZe, they did get 3-1, but they got a new player in Zaptius. They removed Classic from their lineup, who was their player leading up to this moment so far during the Call of Duty League. They changed him with Zaptius, and even though they didn't get the win, Zaptius actually, Zaptius, I guess you could say, helped them get one win, or one map win, because I really thought they were gonna get 3-0'd. As you can see here, he wasn't doing all too great right now. Zaptius wasn't doing too great at the beginning of the match, and it's reflected on the score here. As we can see, they ended up losing the hard point 250 to 211. They ended up losing the next Search and Destroy and the new standoff map, which is it's a classic map that they brought back into the rotation from the previous Black Ops 2 game. This is an OG map. They also lost the control on Raid 3-1. Not a very good control team, Paris Legion. And they also lost the last hard point on Raid as well. Very close. Could have gone either way here, I'm assuming. However, I look at this and I see, wow, they pushed, Atlanta FaZe to the brink in the last hard point, and they almost pushed them to the brink in, the first hard point. So, I feel like Zaptius might be a good addition to the squad. This is more of a manageable matchup for them than it was yesterday against the FaZe. And I do believe that maybe the odds shouldn't be so much in the favor of the Minnesota ROKKR. I think this should be distributed a little bit more even. Now, I do think there are value plays here in this position. I do believe that Temp at 7,000 on the flex position is a very good pick here in this position. Temp has been quietly doing, decent his previous games. His last game was 104 fantasy points against Atlanta. He posted 104 fantasy points in this series, so he did pretty good. He didn't do terrible. Prior to that, he had 90 fantasy point games back to back. So if you would have had him in your captain spot in his last 4 games, you would have, he would have helped you make money. He would have helped you, he would have basically brought value to your lineup. At 7,000 for the flex position, and at the 10,500 position, I think Temp is basically the Paris Legion's most, I don't want to say most valuable player. He's the player that brings you the most value relative to his price, his price tag. Aqua is another player who I look at usually before I look at anybody else. However, Aqua hasn't really been doing too great as of recent. He's had like 100 fantasy point game in a while, and his captain position, 12,000, is too high in my opinion. I never usually put Aqua in any of my captain positions. I think there are other players that have better upside than him in the captain position, but at the flex position, he is a decent play. I think this is a winnable matchup for them against Minnesota, and I do feel like it's going to be one of those, 3-2 series where we see a game 5. As for Zaptius, I also feel like Zaptius, at 6,400, he had a 100 fantasy point game against Minnesota when he was over there with when he was with the London Royal Ravens. Um, and previous to that, he wasn't doing too shabby. 290 fantasy points, 86 fantasy points, back to back, while he was 5,800 and 6,000 fantasy points, respectively. So, Zappies isn't that bad of a pick as well. At 6,400, if they win against the Minnesota ROKKR, Zappies has a lot of upside. Scraps is the one player where I would probably avoid myself because I feel like, Scraps is a good player, but as you can see here, he didn't post too well of a stat line yesterday against FaZe, and that, granted it's FaZe, but at 9,000, I still feel like he might be a little overvalued. At 9,000, I think there are other players that bring a lot of more value, but I could be wrong. Scraps, he's a beast. He is a beast. I know he's a beast. He can provide value to you. I just don't know if he can do it at that price tag of 9,000. Take a look at here some of the stats. Temp has tied for highest kills per limit with Scraps. Aqua has the overall KD. Deaths per minute. Let's look at these stats. Interesting stats here. There's a lot of stats. BreakingPoint.gg is a very good website for Call of Duty stats, by the way, if you guys want to see the stats for yourself. Not a good record on Hardpoint. Not a good record on Search and Destroy. Worse on Control. I do believe that, teams like this, where nobody's targeting, is where value's at with Paris Legion. Nothing really stands out here other than, Temp, having a good amount of kills per minute. Kills per round in Search and Destroy. Temp highest 0.83, tied or second highest KD. I really do think Temp is the key value play here for this team. Now, moving over to the Minnesota ROKKR, they got 3-0'd by the Optic Chicago. So, for them, I feel like bringing back Major Maniac, a player who they already had benched, maybe might not have been the ideal move. I don't think he did too hot against Optic yesterday. Obviously, they got 3-0'd, and yes, he did not get, a decent amount of points. Nobody did. In a 3-0, nobody would. But Major Maniac, man, it throws a wrench into what I think about Minnesota ROKKR, because now them getting 3-0'd by Optic, I don't know if it's just that Optic is that good or if they're just that bad, because Optic was coming off of a slump. They ended up the last stage hot, but it just is difficult to see what this team is going to really look like in a win. How are they going to stand up to Paris? And, I do feel like if I had to pick a player here on the other side, I would definitely only go with either Standy or Priesta. I mean, I like Attach, but at 8,400, I think there are other players that are also going to bring more value. I like Priesta at 7,600. He's always shown the upside that he's had. His last 10 games have really been good. He's had a lot of upside in the recent past, so I do feel like Priesta would be a good pick. Standy, like always. However, I do believe Standy is a little too expensive right now. 15,300 at the captain spot and 10,200 at the flex position. He's only had 100 plus fantasy points in the in his last 8 games. He hasn't had that many amazing games, so I do feel like he's overpriced. So Priesta, Attach, or Standy. I would have to say Priesta or Attach would be the two players I would really target here. Standy, I just think he's a little bit too expensive. But other than that, yeah, I think this is gonna be a close game. If I had to pick who's gonna win, I think Paris Legion might have it. To be honest, I think Paris Legion might have it in the bag. I really do like Paris Legion here. I really do think they might take it 3-2. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that 3-2. I don't know how Minnesota Rockers gonna look with Major Maniac again, so I'm just going to call it like I feel. I'm just gonna go with the underdog here. So yeah, with that being said, let's move on to the next game we have in store for us: the LA Thieves versus the Seattle Surge. So for the game between the Los Angeles Thieves and the Seattle Surge, we have a very indecisive Los Angeles Thieves here with this squad. As you guys know, if you've been following the Call of Duty League, they just made a switch from TJ Halley to Hugh, the Dallas superstar, the player who was, basically deemed one of the best, if not the best, in the Call of Duty League last year and this year. Hugh got traded from the Dallas Empire to the LA Thieves in spot of TJ Halley, and they didn't do too well with him. They only won a game, I believe. They won one match, and they lost 2 matches. So they were actually doing a little bit worse than they were when they had TJ Halley. And I guess for some reason they decided that for this stage they would just let the team run with TJ Halley the way they were running before they acquired Hugh. Hugh wasn't a planned, acquisition. It was just a heat of the moment thing where Hugh came into the market and they decided to drop money and get him because of the caliber of player he was. He wasn't really, meshing with the squad as of the 3 games or the 3 matches where he was playing. So they put TJ Halley back in the rotation. Now, TJ Halley isn't as good as Hugh, but the team was doing good when he was in the squad. The last couple games they played with him. So I don't know if they're going to pick up where they left off in terms of the chemistry of the team. I'm assuming they haven't been practicing with TJ Halley, but I do think the Los Angeles Thieves here are, very, very at very good odds of beating the Seattle Surge, who also have a new acquisition here in Classic. They dropped a Decimate for him, and as you can see here by the odds provided by Bovada, Los Angeles Thieves are at a -425 to win. Seattle Surge are at a heavy underdogs at +285, and I am I relate to the sentiment that LA Thieves are a way better team and that they probably are going to win. I do think that Classic does not make this team any much better than what it already was with Decimate. I do think LA Thieves have a capability of 3-0 here, if not 3-1. But I do think that players like Kenny and Venom here are decent picks to target for this match. Kenny being the one player in the LA Thieves who has really carried as of recent. His last, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. His last 7 games, he's posted 5 100 plus fantasy points. One of those being 144 against London and 125 and 123 against New York Subliners and Optic Chicago. So I'm just going to go out and say it. Kenny is always going to be, as long as he's posting these numbers, he's going to be my number 1 pick for the LA Thieves. As long as Hugh isn't in the roster, he's going to be my number 1 pick with this roster. I'm always going to look at him first at 9,200. I feel like he is the workhorse for this team, and he brings the most value, bang for buck value here in this squad. My second up would probably be either Venom or TJ Halley. TJ Halley is probably going to want to, try hard. He's probably gonna want to show why he should have never been moved to the bench in the first place in this match against Seattle, and he's probably gonna be able to show it because Seattle isn't that great of a team. They're dead last, 4-15 on the record on the year. They're dead last in the CDL, much like last season. I think LA Thieves are gonna be able to, run away with the win here. I would call it a 3-1. TJ Halley, 83 fantasy points last game he played against Optic Chicago. TJ Halley isn't that much of a fantasy point player. He doesn't really post that much, but it's just his knowledge of the game and like his in-game like IQ that really helps the team. But he's not really that much of a fantasy player in terms of like you want to target him for points. If you're gonna target TJ Halley, usually it would be best if it was in the captain position, because at 11,100 I feel like TJ Halley could get you a 120 point plus game for the captain position. So in order of greatest to least would probably be Kenny, Venom, TJ Halley, and Draza in order of my favorite picks to least favorite. And I say Draza last because at 9,800 he's the player who's had the least consistency. He's had 69 fantasy points, and then he posts 100 fantasy points the game after, and you just never know when he's going to be consistent. So I would rather target consistent players like Kenny, in my opinion. And I do think that they will win, like I said, 3-1 or a 3-0. The team position at 3,800 for the LA Thieves is playable in my part. It's playable because I do think they're going to get the win. Do think they're going to get search and destroy, round wins, plants, diffuses, all that good stuff. As for the Seattle Surge, man, I really don't have confidence in this team. I don't know what it is. They just can't mesh together. The one constant factor in this team is Octane. I don't know why they just can't. Nobody can do good with this guy. I don't know what it is. He's a good player, but I just don't know why. Seattle Surge has just not been good at all. It's just one of those teams where they just, they go through players, or they go through players and they just can't find a chemistry. So I'm not targeting anybody on the Seattle Surge. If you want to be contrarian and target somebody, I would say maybe target Classic or Pristini, because those players have shown some type of upside where they can probably win you a game or a match, a contest, because they've shown some type of upside. The highest points Pristini has ever gotten is 111 fantasy points. That was a while ago. Classic as well. Classic, he's shown some signs of life in the Paris Legion, but that was a long time ago against Florida. He posted 136 fantasy points. That was probably like in stage 2 or something. That was a long time ago. Octane is the best player here, obviously, at 8,600. I just think that it's detrimental that he's in this team, and he's just it's hard for him to see a win. So if he doesn't see a win, he's not going to be a good play. Even if he's a good player at 8,600, there's so many other players in better positions that would probably give you more value here. And Gunless as well, same story. Inconsistent and in a team not favored to win. So with that being said, I do believe LA Thieves are going to take this 3-1. And with that being said, let's move on to our next game, the New York Subliners against the LA Guerillas. So for the game between the LA Guerillas and the New York Subliners, personally, the New York Subliners are one of my favorite teams because they have defied the odds from the beginning of the season. They have just been slept on, and they've been beating teams like FaZe. And this series that I'm showing you here on the screen, they beat FaZe 3-2, I believe. Yeah, it was a 3-2. They smoked them on the hard point in Apocalypse. They beat them in the checkmate search and destroy that we're seeing here. They lost the control, and then they lost the raid. They got smoked on the raid hard point, and then they won the express S&D. As you can see here, they went to a round 11 in S&D. In Express, they took it down to the wire to Atlanta FaZe, and they clutched up in the end. So this is what I like about this team. The New York Subliners, they're, I don't want to say safe bet. They're a safe bet, but like usually, you can trust them to get something done. They're an actual legit team. They are a top 3 team in the league. I do believe they're better than the Dallas Empire, which is my home team. So it's hard when they go up together. But with that being said, New York Subliners, man, I do feel like they're going to win this matchup against the Gorillas. This FaZe matchup was the last one before they actually played FaZe again and lost in the finals. But still, Hydra, the new acquisition for New York Subliners. Man, this guy is a beast. This guy is an absolute beast. He's made me money in the past. Every time I've rostered him, it seems like he's made me money. And it's because usually he was, I'm not going to lie, he was not accurately priced when he first came into the league. They were pricing him at like 9,000 for the captain spot, some ridiculous like that. So I took advantage of that as much as I could. The people at Draftkings didn't know how to price him. I took advantage of that. So he made me money while he was cheap, but now he's up at 15,900 for the captain spot. He's at 10,600 for the flex position. Hydra is, Hydra's a beast. He's only posted one bad game at 68 fantasy points, and that was against Seattle, ironically. But he hasn't done bad ever since. Hydra, I would have to go with him at 10,600 because even though he's a beast, I think that 15,900 for any player is sometimes a stretch. I think that there are other players that can give you value here in this position. So I would limit myself, of course, just myself. This is just my opinion. I would probably only take him in flex positions. Clayster is another player who I know he's a beast. I know he's icy, Sometimes I like fading him because I know he's an old man, and sometimes he can't, run and gun like all the other cracked out players. But he is still cracked. Let's see, for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In the last 10 games, Clayster has had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games upwards of 100 fantasy points. So Clayster's actually been doing better now than he was at the beginning of the season. He's actually been picking up. He's getting that groove, he's getting that momentum of the New York Subliners being a top team and, getting slept on. That's the environment that Clayster thrives on. Whenever the team is slept on and they just prove people wrong and they beat teams they shouldn't be beating, that's when Clayster pops off, and Clayster's been doing great as of recent. So I think that at 9,200, Clayster might be a decent play here. Maybe not against the LA Gorillas, but I do feel like Clayster, at 9,200, he's a good play. I don't know if he's going to be a good play here against this team, though. I know against other teams, 9,200 is a steal for Clay. But, I think Clay is a very good player, so he would probably be one of the picks I make in this matchup. He's a good player. As for Asim at 8,800 for the flex position and 13,200 for the captain position, Asim is a little bit less consistent as of late. Every other game he posts 100 fantasy points or more. He's more of like I guess you would say support player, or the reason I don't really ever pick Asim is because at the captain position at 13,200, I feel like he's very expensive. I feel like there's other players that can bring more value than him in captain position. And at the 8,800 position, he would have to have upwards of 100 fantasy point game to, give you value here in that position, which I think he does every other game. he's a little bit less predictable, so I tend to not choose him as much. But Asim is a very good pick in any subliners game where they are favored to win. It's just the how is he's feeling that day or how the other team comes out that determines whether he's a good player or not. As for Mac at 8,200, I feel like Mac is always a good play, man. When he played Seattle, he made me some money of 140 fantasy points. Also, when they played at LA Thieves, he made me some money. Hydra and Mac had made me some money, man, and I love both of these guys. And as of late, they've been looking very great. For the last 5 games that Mac has played, he's posted 2 games upwards of 100 fantasy points, both of them being high fantasy points. 140 against Seattle, 134 against Thieves. So he posted 96 last game against Florida, and that was pretty good too. So Mac at 8,200, I feel very confident in him in this position. For the New York Subliners team position at 3,600, I feel it's playable against the LA Guerillas. LA Guerillas are no pushovers though, so this team also thrives when nobody wants to be on their side, when everybody's doubting them. They also gave FaZe their first loss of the season, if you guys remember, and nobody believed in them. The odds were super crazy, like minus 1,200 or something like that for FaZe to win, and they lost to the Guerillas. So even the Vegas odds weren't safe from them that day. So don't sleep on the Guerillas. I do feel like players like Apathy always go off when the Guerillas are getting slept on, man. And Apathy has made me some money too in the past. Apathy is a beast. I do love Apathy here in this position, also at 6,200. But that is going to be the only player that I really look at. Assault, I feel, is too expensive. 14,100, 9,400 for the flex position. Cheen 11,700 for the cap. I would probably take Cheen at the cap position, but at 7,800, I don't know if I would take him. Silly as well at the 10,800 position, the captain spot. I would take him. I would take him at the captain spot. At the flex position, I don't know if I would take him. 7,200. Sometimes he doesn't really, he's very inconsistent as well. So yeah, when it comes to the Guerillas, I would probably just go Apathy, Cheen, or Silly. That's if I target them. But because those are the players that would probably give you the best value here. Assault, I think, is the one player who would not give you value at all, either in the cap position or in the flex position. I feel he's too expensive, especially against this team. But yeah, with that being said, I think I'm going to take the New York Subliners 3-1 to win this. And these are my thoughts on these games. If you like the content, if you like Call of Duty betting advice, betting insight, betting info on Draftkings, I will be probably picking up other websites like Draft Buff, and probably discussing like fantasy strategies on that website in the future. I'm also going to be picking up Valorant soon here in the future, another esport that has been on the rise. Pretty solid esport in my opinion, that's looking to have a lot of promise here in the United States and around the world. So if you guys like that content, like that type of content, stick around, leave a like, drop a subscribe, click that subscribe button if you want to keep watching these videos and you want me to keep producing. I'm going to be making a lot of these videos to help you make money in the near future and in the long run, for those of you who like the content. So yeah, with that being said, these are the games for today. I'm very excited for today's Saturday slates, and I hope you guys can make some money off of my input. And yeah, with that being said, thank you guys for watching.